Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Case by Case. This is second live of the day, so I feel like I'm wearing a rerun because I didn't change clothes. Cooked some dinner in between lives. Earlier today, me and Jerome did a little bit of a recap on Ashley Garth's case and went over her interrogation video. Tonight, this is part 4 of the Delphi Vault, and I want to specifically, I could have put the image up, but I didn't, because I wanted to verbally let everyone know right up front, trigger warning tonight about the topics that we're going to discuss. And hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching the replay, please hit the like and subscribe, and always leave your thoughts and comments. I do answer questions. I do comment back. So without further ado, let me bring on my great co-hosts this evening. I've got Cherie. I've got your mic because she sounds like she's in a wind tunnel. And joining us tonight is Jerome from Belgium. He's learning all about the Delphi case. He's a good friend of Dr. Silkman's and an advocate follower of crime cases that most likely than not involve a wrongful conviction. So I'm glad to have him on board. And hello, Cherie. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Streets, how are you doing? I know you're traveling. That's why you sound like you're in a window.
I'm driving through BF Oklahoma right now. There's lots of cows. But I'm listening. If you need me, I'm here.
Okay. We'll holler. Hi, Jerome. How are you? Late night.
I'm fine, thank you. A little bit tired, but it's okay.
Are you? How late? What time is it there right now?
1 p.m. 1 a.m. 1 a.m.
1 a.m. So it's 7 o'clock here. Well, 7:05. So.
Yeah, 1:05 here. Yeah.
Well, thank you for staying up late. So good evening to everybody in the chat. Judge Jessica, Tracy Burton, Shaboogies, Donnie Pitbull, Aloha, Elizabeth Park, Jackal, Alina, Electric Weircat. How you doing? Hi, Travis. Regina, Pinto, Lowered Customs. What'd you say?
I just say hi, Travis, because it's been a while that I've seen Travis. Travis was on Erica's channels years ago, and we know each other. So, but it was a long time that I don't have see Travis. So I say hi to Travis.
Yeah, Travis and Cherie have helped me. That's what Travis just said. He said, "Hi, Jerome. It's been a minute." Yeah, Travis and Cherie helped me a lot on getting started with Ashley's case. So they're both very familiar with Ashley's case, and I couldn't have gotten everything that I got done and acquired on her case that I did without their help. So I'm grateful.
And I know also Cherie from the past.
Yeah, we go way back.
And it's really great to see you all here tonight to talking about the case.
Well, tonight, this is Michael Osbrook. Hello. Michael says he's editing prisoner letters answered by students, but he's all ears. Good. So before we get started, I just kind of want to give a little bit of a side note to the topic tonight. You know, several months back after Rick was convicted, and I had done some lives to discuss that, I said that I felt we needed to go back to the very beginning of this case. And for me, that includes everything, because where we are today, the past is how we got here. And this topic, tonight I had planned, part 4 was supposed to be on something different. But after I was going through all of my files and folders and started compiling things, I had more and more things that really came before the Brad Holder and stuff, the Odinist opinion that the defense put out there in the Franks memo. So the topic that we're going to talk about tonight is something that was heavily rumored around the community years ago, like within 2 years, within the 2-year frames, and if not longer, after the girls were found. A lot of that stems from the helicopter video, what people claimed that they were able to see on it. That video had been edited and then ultimately removed, but somebody had already grabbed it. And so it's out there. There's been a lot of talk. I've personally gotten a lot of information sent to me where people have an opinion on this case. And I only feel that it's fair that we discuss, because it's one of the rumors and theories and rabbit holes. I feel that we need to incorporate that for those who believe it. But that is the rumors. And okay, how do I say this? I wouldn't say rumors. It's been a rumor for sure, but there was also some things that heavily pointed to the fact that on the law enforcement scanner, it was stated that the girls were found in the water. Some of the initial phone calls that came from searchers stated that the girls had been found in the water. And we're just going to review those theories tonight. It was enough to put together a good portion of a presentation for that. So I don't want to ignore that. I'm not here to say that I don't believe every rabbit hole or every conspiracy theory. And I'm not saying that the girls being found in the water is a conspiracy theory. I'm saying this case has evolved so much over the past 8 years. Everything needs to be looked at and considered, just to be fair. And that's why I'm covering it. I'm not saying that I support this theory at all. What I'm saying is it's worth covering. So does anybody have any comments on that? Any questions in the chat before we get started?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is everything $1 at Dollar General?
Not anymore. It's $1.25 now. Oh no. Wait a minute. Dollar General? I don't know.
There's a lot of I was just wondering, because I've heard of them. They're everywhere, and is it really $1? That's pretty cool if it is. What do they sell?
Everything. They sell a little bit of everything.
Huh. Okay.
So here we have Dollar General here, but it's just a cheaper store. But we do have Dollar Tree stores. And after COVID, it still says Dollar Tree, but everything was raised to $1.25. So it's no longer $1.
Okay.
That is fascinating to me. I want to live places where you can buy things for $1. Like, that's awesome.
You got to be careful though, because some things in the dollar stores are always sometimes they're outdated. So, all right. So we're going to start off with a video. This video was taken it was taken from the helicopter footage, and I want you to watch it, and I want you to pay attention, and I want you to listen to the audio. Give me 1 second. I have to share my screen because this video it wouldn't let me download it because it's got a warning on it because of the footage. So if you guys are triggered by anything specific, take about 5 minutes to walk away, turn off the computer. I'm just warning you now. It's not a clear image. It's not clear images that you see, but for some of you, I'm just warning you. Give me 1 second, guys. Do any of you guys have problems when you're like on the internet? I think it's because I probably need to update my like my screen sometimes jump. Like when I click on something, an ad page will pop up.
Yeah, maybe you need to make some update because I have never any problem on my channel to share anything. So
Well, I might need to update mine. So the struggle is real. The struggle is real for those not so tech savvy people like myself. Okay, let me go back in here. Ask Luke about do you have problems too, Michael? It's always something. It's either my microphone is cutting out or my Wi-Fi is acting up. Now it's my screen.
Or your co-host sucks.
My co-host says bad words.
I haven't been on the bad word tonight. I've been good so far.
Yeah, you have. Okay, so it says, please be advised that this video contains subjective opinions and speculation. Yup, back it up. Based on video, audio, and photographic evidence from February 13th and 14th, 2017.
Area advised that the girls have been found in the water. Can you confirm that? We have no confirmation whatsoever. He advised it was John Weaver that told him that information. Area advised that the girls have been found in the water. Can you confirm that?
We have found 2 bodies. Is that the Sugar Creek? Deer Creek, sorry. In Deer Creek, about a mile east of town. We are investigating this as a crime scene. We suspect foul play.
So the audio, Travis, is from the police scanner from, I believe, on the 14th. John Weaver, I've been looking, I know that I have it somewhere in my massive file of stuff. If I remember correctly, John Weaver was also questioned in the Flora fires case. But John Weaver is a local from the area. He was there searching, and so I'm trying to catch up with the chat and see what everybody in the chat thinks.
My thing with the theory of they were in the water is like, why would they say they were not in the water? Like, what's the, like, a conspiracy just for the sake of conspiracy seems like there's already so much going on. Like, I know that it just, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, but that's, yeah, absolutely. Like, why would that have happened? When did that happen? But what is that in the water? What are they focusing on there in the water? And what are we looking at? Yeah, and Cornudo's bodies in the water mean no bullet means Giacola used a box cutter on Libby's corpse. I don't know about that. I know everybody has a theory, and they're all welcome here. There is another portion of this audio that we're going to listen to. We can listen to that right now. Keep these two things close together. And I will try to catch up on the chat at the same time.
Do you know what else they have in Oklahoma that they don't have in California?
What?
Menthol cigarettes.
Ew.
They've been illegal in California.
They're gross.
Hey, it's a novelty.
Hey, is this going to play for me or what? Come on.
When I left that group, I was already dressed out, and I came up closer to the scene. Okay, we are loaded. We're getting a vehicle to take us all up there as a group. Let's driving everybody up there separately.
Yeah. Northwestern, south of Cherry. It's going to be on a silver Honda Civic 933 Adam Queen.
Okay. I guess we'll pick up. It's going to take us up there versus bringing several vehicles. So we'll be up there in just a minute. No hurry.
Case 327, March 27th.
That's Superior 6, right?
79601, 79602. 602, go ahead. Just had a citizen stop by our area, advised that the girls have been found in the water. Can you confirm that? Negative. We have no confirmation of that whatsoever. He advised it was a John Weaver that told him that information.
Subject going to Appendix 7 of 1001.
We have no confirmation of that whatsoever.
The door's closed right now. Clear.
That's 601. Just pull all of your traffic. I'm up at the scene now.
Copy, thank you.
So Travis, I agree. That's that's a major conspiracy. What was pushed back then about the girls and where they were found. And I see a couple of people in chat already alluding to the fact that because the girls' clothes were found in the water, that might have been where the confusion came from. I'm not dismissing the whole idea, but when you actually sit down and you put into perspective what we're talking about here, about the girls being in the water in broad daylight with, there were multiple helicopters in the air taking footage. And there were people walking around the trails searching. It is probably impossible to think that that law enforcement would have removed the girls from the water and taken them 50 feet into the embankment and then staged the scene. But like I said, we're covering from the very beginning of this case, all of the theories and all of the things that were proposed, because some of these things are still floating around to today. And I think that we know a heck of a lot more now than what we did back then to be able to put it to rest. Shaboogies, I have no idea why there's not been any leakage of any of the dispatch calls. That stuff, I don't know. You know, Indiana is funny because, you know, you can FOIA that stuff, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get it. And then if they don't want you to have it, they will fight tooth and nail. And you know, you have to go through PAC in order to file, you know, a complaint to get access. And we've gone down that road with Ashley's case. And basically we were told by the public's information office that if they don't want you to have it, they don't have, you know, they can basically change their reason day to day for the reason that they're giving you that you're not getting it. And it'll probably take years unless in post-conviction, the defense attorneys who represent Rick request it, and you know, somehow then it becomes an exhibit or it's made public. But how, Jerome, do you know how you guys got all of the, I mean, you guys even got all the jail calls in Stephen's case. How did you guys go about requesting those? I know Millbilly did some.
Yeah, Millbilly, Full Play. I requested every phone calls who were available at the time, and a lot of phone call was disclosure, but not everything, because there is still some phone calls that we don't have access, and we don't know why. But yeah.
Hi, Mother of Dragons. Just checking up on all incoming phone calls should have been recorded as well. That was kind of just running a plate. Adam, Queen. Yeah, they were running a plate. I did hear that on a I think it was a Honda Accord. Hi, Under Your Scars. So there's the audio and the footage that I think led to this type of discussion. So let's go into some of the posts and things that were circulating back then around that time. Let me get to it.
And by the way, Travis is right when he said that the law in the Wisconsin are not the same in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told by Jerry Buting that every state had their own laws. So, for example, Jerry Buting will not be able to be a lawyer in Indiana because he just know the law in the Wisconsin.
Right. Right. There is some exceptions to that. You have to file some paperwork and get approved But it's usually like for example, like Alan Jackson right now. He's not a Massachusetts attorney, but he's defending Karen Reed. But that's normally the case. You know, you are licensed in a state. Some attorneys choose to get licensed in multiple states. But yeah, like Travis says, they don't have to give you investigative information in Indiana. They never have to give it. The law was different in Wisconsin, completely different. Indiana police investigations are exempt. So that makes it even worse, trying to get your hands on this stuff. In Ashley's case, I actually had to travel to Indiana. I could order her trial transcripts, but any of the motions pre-trial that were filed in her case, I had to come in person and get them. And then when I got there, I had to get them off of a computer. I had to sit and scroll through a computer and print them off. And I'm like, why did I have to drive here when they were already on the computer? You could have just emailed them. I would have paid for them.
Yeah.
But no, they made you go in person. So I went. Hi, Scotty. Scotty says, I just want to point out the tree in the water near where the searchers are looks similar to the tree where Libby's shirts. Whoop, you got bumped up. Where Libby's shirt was, the Nike shoe, etc., were found. Not that it is. No, you're right. It's very close to the same area. Carnoodles is adamant that this is true. Can I say that, Carnoodles? I know that you believe in this theory. You said everyone. Just go through every frame, magnified. No doubt that's the girls. Abby is nude. Libby's still wearing the missing black underwear. I've tried to zoom in on the video footage, and the more I zoom in on it, the more pixelated it gets. And I think I even zoomed in and snipped it from the video, and I put it in this presentation. Hi, Radar. Radar says, that's a good point. That's a good point. Kim Riley, the officer that we've seen speaking on that little video, who said the girls were found in the water. Radar says that Kim Riley had another body on his mind that was found in Sugar Creek. Because remember, he said Sugar Creek and then they corrected him. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, Carnoodles, I will do my best. So I'm getting there. This presentation, the vault is like, I'm almost up to like 100 slides at this point. So I always try to have this set where I want it to start, but every time I take it off screen, it goes back to the beginning.
They have Starbucks. I got Starbucks.
You're lucky, out in the middle of nowhere.
It's Okmulgee, I don't know, but it's got a Starbucks. So right in front of the Walmart.
Well, you lucked out. You got super lucky. Majesta Alexander, no, I haven't even tried to get the 2 a.m. 911 call to law enforcement because I already know they're going to shoot that down. If it's from the 13th or the 14th, right now, while this case is still active with a direct appeal, they are not going to release anything in this case. So I'm not even going to try. But you know, anyone can request a FOIA. All you have to do is go to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office website and see what paperwork they require, or call them. Sometimes they have a form online that you print and mail in, or you can email it in, or you have to do like a written request. So, okay, trigger warning again. This was actually a screenshot that I copied and put in here. I have, was sent to and who it was sent from blocked out. So I'm going to read this, but I'm going to warn everyone. It's graphic. So it says, spewing out the same old mantra in the first 10 seconds. If you'd actually been following this case, you'd realize Libby was bludgeoned to death on the 12th. She walked nowhere on the 13th. The cover-up started at 2:13 a.m. on the 13th. Why was Elvis Fields already walking to Brad Weber's barn at 8:30 a.m. on the 13th, where Abby was held captive? A barn that's been forensically examined 7 times. The girls were still in Deer Creek at 9:30 a.m. on the 14th. I've got photographic and video proof of that. Family and law enforcement staged all of this. Kelsey German is on video guarding both bodies before they were staged. Abby was nude in the creek. Libby was still wearing the black underwear that's still missing today. Becky Patty signaled to law enforcement. Those were securely disposed of. Pay attention to all the subtle stuff and go watch the helicopter footage. The full story is in front of your eyes if you know what you're looking at. Now, okay, does anybody in chat have any inkling of knowledge as to why something like that would be true and why that was circulating back then? Why would that have happened to Libby in her home? And why would Abby have been in Brad Weber's barn? I'm not going to disclose who wrote that. I have multiple snippets of this in various forms from this same individual. They said it was kids jumping on a trampoline at 2 a.m. Okay, Mother of Jack. Okay, are you talking about the screams that were heard on the bridge on the 13th during the search? Travis, I agree with you. Absolutely agree that this is a far reach to me.
Yeah.
But it was a very big deal back then. People were really thinking, and I think this might have been one of the triggers that really started everyone pointing the finger at the families or the family. So the next one, here's another one from back then. This is, I left the name on here because there's no last name. It's just Tracy. And to the right of this screenshot is the little red barn that was tore down not long after the murders. Well, cabin, little red barn, little red shack. It was tore down after the murders. But in this screenshot, this woman, Tracy, says, "We saw Abby and Libby clear as day in the water. Abby was splashing when the guy in the red suit appeared to be holding her down. Then bodies weren't found in the water, and we saw them in the water. They had to drag bodies out and stage them. I saw with my own eyes with the girls in the water. The one guy pretended not to see them. Then after the other man in the red suit held Abby down to make sure she was dead, they were moved. I think it says they were moved to the shore. They had to have drugged the bodies somewhere and staged them. Coroner even said that Abby died just 3 hours before girls were found. So the timing is right. I know what I saw, and if you question that, then I will tell you where to find it on the video. This may not be what you want to hear, but I saw what I saw."
That honestly, to me, sounds like someone saw a river rescue person. like touching the clothes.
Might have been.
That's what that sounds like someone misunderstanding what they're seeing, and it was one of the river rescue people probably checking the clothes.
Well, guys in chat, these were all rumors and speculation and theories that were put forth early on in the case. But there's enough here to discuss it because it's part of what transpired in the beginning of this case that I think helped snowball all of the theories and tentacles that we all began to go down on in these rabbit holes in this case. And I think talking about them now, knowing what we know, that we can dispel a lot of that. And I think this theory is it's a very far reach. Lower Customs said Doug Carter claimed he knew they were missing Saturday night, found out Sunday morning, and knew the search team was starting Monday. Well, where did Doug Carter? Is there a place that you can point where Doug Carter actually said that? And I would, and if you've seen it and you can't find it, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was scrubbed, just like Robert Ives is the whole non secular about the crime scene is now missing.
Except Robert Ives really didn't say that.
Candy says, convince me they weren't in the water. Well, I can't, I have no proof one way or the other than we know where the girls were found.
My question is, like, why? Why would they, whoever they is, like, why would that even be a thing that early on, like, instantaneously conspiracy started? Like, just doesn't, there's no reason. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Why a conspiracy from Jump Street? That is, the big question. But I of Apothos, you have a great point. Regardless of which theory anyone here believes, those clothes and shoe in the creek were not visible on the 13th. I agree with that.
I've always questioned that. I've always questioned that. Why did they see it's a bright tie-dyed shirt and Kelsey crossed the bridge. Like, why did they not see the clothes in the creek? Which made me believe that maybe it was up creek a little bit because they came down creek overnight when they opened up the dam or whatever that they have up the street. I don't know, but that's always made me wonder.
That's a good, you just saying that just made me think, because I had thought about that before and I don't think I've ever said it out loud, based on Reese Davis and what he claimed he was told. If the girls were taken back to Logan's property and things occurred there, as the girls were being brought back to where their final resting place was, did they throw items in the water upstream and they kind of float down throughout the night? But that would be, I don't think, we've never seen a picture of where Abby's jeans and her jacket were. So I'm not sure in relationship to the shoe and the tie-dyed shirt where those items were, if they were further upstream or further down. But that's something to think about, based on the water flow, that items could have been thrown in much further upstream and then ended up where they ended up overnight to where they were found on the 14th. Yep. What a glass. You're right. There was a search party on both sides on the 13th. I've heard that as well. Jackal says Robert Ives said he knew on Sunday the girls were missing. video was scrubbed. Does anybody have an explanation or a reasoning as to why people would like why would law enforcement from the moment of finding the girls begin a cover-up?
No. But I have a question.
Okay.
What the autopsy report said?
What does what say? I'm sorry.
What does the autopsy report say?
Well, on the autopsy report, we do not have a time of death.
Okay.
They
But-
did not. And I don't believe that even on the autopsy report, we even got stomach contents. And those things were not discussed at trial. The pathologist didn't discuss those. He went over the injuries to both girls. They never took rectal temperatures at the scene because they had the intention of doing the rape kit tests on both girls. And the girls were actually put into a refrigerated truck and transported to Terre Haute, which is much further distance away. So the bodies were in a cooler. So there was no getting a good time of death. What we do know is that Libby's time of death on her death certificate has February 13th, and Abby has February 14th. And early on, we were told that the discrepancy was because the parents were allowed to choose what they wanted on the girls' headstones. But that doesn't mean parents have the ability to tell a coroner what time of death to put on a death certificate.
No.
So there's that discrepancy.
There's a certain person who I'm not going to name who's told other people, and they have said that the stomach contents were examined and it was within the timeline that Becky Patty gave them. Take that for a grain of salt.
Yeah, they had Libby's dad made them pancakes that morning. So, but we've always wondered about the time of death and why the two different dates. Amy, what did you say? I missed that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that people have said over the years. That's why we're discussing it. Just to kind of, I just think this theory is one of those that needs to be talked about and put to rest. And we have many, many more viable suspects in this case. There's a lot more things that connect other individuals than to think that in broad daylight, law enforcement was brazen enough to pull two young girls out of the water when there's hella people around. So this right here, again, cabin, and this is a still shot from helicopter footage where there's two men on the side. One is I believe one is a fireman. The other one is a civilian. And the image here that it is pointing to is what people have believed to be a body along the edge of the water. Now, I put this in here because if you look at this photograph, this topography that I think that is in this photograph, if hypothetically we pretend that we are seeing an actual body here, that body is not in the water.
No.
That body's on the bank. We don't have three bodies here. We only have the two. So we can't have it both ways. They can't be on the bank in the water. So I wanted to point that out. This is a still shot from the helicopter footage that I zoomed in on. I can't make out what's in this water. I mean, that very well could be that could be Abby's jeans. in the water. I see where someone could think that they're seeing a body here. I'm personally not convinced, but I'm not judging anybody who has better eyesight than I do, who thinks that they see a body. Same goes for here. Now see, this person has circled 2 images here. Neither one of these images are in the water. So there is that. Oh, that's interesting to know, Travis. Travis says, wow. Really? 2 to 4 hours on stomach contents? That is what my expert testified to. So I believe, okay, Streets, do you know, or chat, somebody, do we have a time of when actually the girls ate the pancakes? Was there ever an estimated time, like 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning?
I heard it was exactly that, 10 or 11.
So let's go with 11, the later hour. 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, that could be. I don't know. Because we know they were alive at 2:13 if you believe the BG video. Radar, if you have it, you can email it to me. So guys, nobody get hostile in the chat over theories. We are just discussing all of this. What are you talking about? No, I'm sorry, but that is endure. I don't even know what you're talking about, first of all. Endure perseverance. Okay. So next up, I wanted to get into one of the things that I had sent to me, and I wanted to see what everybody else, maybe you guys have heard about this or not, and tell me what you think. So again, I hid this was just sent to me the other night. So, oh, wait a minute, I got to take it off. I forgot to bleep out the name on there. Sorry. So I'll read it and I will bleep out the name. Sorry, guys. So how can I do that? Hang on, I got to pull it back up. So this is in regards to the Anthony Schatz account. And supposedly, this was a conversation between 2 other people. And there's no date on this screenshot. So it says, I wanted to tell you, but not on the original post, that blank, you made a comment to about being surprised and seems like she shouldn't. It was explained to me that there was a comment about law enforcement being involved in a cover-up. And this person acted shocked, like, oh my God, are you kidding? A cover-up? And so this person is saying, this person is either the real Anthony Schatz model's wife or girlfriend. She knows him very well. He modeled for the Green Mole. Be careful. KK didn't steal his pictures. They bought them, as in the Green Mole and KK together. Anthony Schatz is not as innocent as he seems. He went to blank right after the murders. He took another name that I can't say. He's who lived next to the school where it was said they made the BG video, then took it to the other phone and connected it to download it. So be careful, because I did a major rabbit hole, and in my opinion, something rings true about all of this. So is that something that anyone's come across about the Anthony Schatz account? No, well, are you talking about Anthony Schatz, the model, or Anthony Schatz,
The fake account.
the fake account? So the name Anthony Schatz is a fake name, but the images that were used for the Anthony Schatz account were of a real person. And what this person is saying is that, so the guy that photos were used is now, I believe, a police officer. And he claimed at the time that his photos were taken and used without his permission. This person is saying that his photos were sold, or that he sold his photos to Keegan Klein. So Cryptex says the model is clearly not involved. Okay. Evil Alaska says he is a trooper up here in Alaska. Okay. Yeah, the Schatz, I believe that the last name Schatz came from his neighbor. That was either their last name or someone related to them's last name. You said, okay, Indy Cindy, how do you know that? So Kyle is, let me put this up on the screen. So Kyle is, I don't know if he, Cindy, was he a student at Delphi High School with the girls? I just know that he was a tech savvy guy, and he used to do a lot of tech work, and he was great with phones. And he's the one that they're claiming helped create the BG video. And Indy Cindy is now saying that Kyle is the one who uploaded that photo of Abby on the bridge. No, Joey Lowe, that's not true. Predators. The first one. So, right. I'm waiting for Cindy to answer. Old Mort says Kyle posted the Abby photo. Where's that information coming from? Because we know there's a question about that photo. We know that it's not in the cache. It's not on Libby's Snapchat. It's not in the camera roll. So those of you who are claiming Kyle did it, where did that information come from? The Schatz neighbor looks identical to the young bridge guy sketch. There's a handful of suspects that I think look like the young bridge guy sketch. Daniel Pearson, Garrett Kurtz. I wouldn't say Logan Holder. Logan Holder to me looks more like the sketch from the man or the guy that was seen down by the mailbox.
And a lot of other people that we don't know anything about them.
About who?
I say the sketch could be anyone.
Yeah, it could be. And that, the young bridge guy sketch, some of from way back then, I just remember, actually I meant to pull it in here. There's a several posts about the fact that they said they came out with the second sketch because the older man in the first sketch had been cleared.
Yeah.
And I don't recall up until after Richard Allen was arrested, I don't believe that they had ever said anybody was cleared. They always said no one's cleared. Specifically, no one's cleared.
True.
So, any thoughts about that?
In my opinion, is the crime scene was staged? Yes. By the police? No. For a reason we don't know. Yes. But not by the police. By somebody else.
And I sometimes, there's, as I'm working on this stuff, I was going through and I was researching the Ossetru stuff, the Odinist stuff, and all, and the different runes and the binding runes, and because that part of the vault is coming up next, and I look at that crime scene and I think this is absolutely ritualistic. And then you hear the things that Reese were told, and it puts a lot of holes. It fills a lot of holes, but it still leaves some. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, are we really dealing with an upwards of like 5 people being involved? I mean, what are the odds of that? And how do you really get 5 people to keep a secret like this for this long? I mean, I know self-preservation is a big deal, but I mean, I think out of all of them, if Keegan Kline was involved, wouldn't he? Do you think he would have faltered under pressure by now?
No.
So, Kyle Smith sent the Abby photo to the media. Well, then how? So, is the media covering this up then too? Is that what? Because if the media got that photo from him, why has anyone knocked on his door asking him where he got it? Especially since they couldn't find it on Libby's phone.
Yep.
And I know that some of the girls that were interviewed right after the girls were found, some of the girls refused to even let law enforcement look at their phones. Nick said that Abby's photo not being found was just one of those things that could be used, but eyewitness sketch 10 out of 10 couldn't be used. Insanity. I agree with you. When Betsy Blair says Bridge Guy was a 10 out of 10, that's ridiculous. But the fact that a whole entire photo is missing, that happened, 8 minutes or so before they're taken down the hill. I mean, come on. That's the problem with this case. Cody Patty does look like the sketch, Karen. You're right. Rachel said she thinks the top is where the pregnancy rumors came from and the juveniles could not stop giggling. Yeah, I know a lot of people think that Abby's shirt looked like a maternity top. Good question, Evil Alaska. Why has Tony Kline not been charged with C-STAM? Good question. I mean, his son is now implicating him. His son implicated him a long time ago. And even back when Keegan was arrested, and from the transcripts, they let it be known that they believed that there were 2 users on that account under the same roof. Separate devices, logging in, logging out on the same Wi-Fi. And you know what? When you hear Keegan discuss that him and his dad were going to go to a brothel together in Vegas, You will never convince me that him and his dad did not have an open relationship when it came to stuff like this. No way.
I agree.
Well, could be.
You know,
So
in
go ahead.
in my opinion, the police don't have anything. Anything. I think. I think so. They don't have anything, any proof to involve anyone. So, but they need a killer. So they've tried to find someone who fits the profile, and it doesn't work. So they maybe decide to trick Richard Allen for a reason that I don't know. But the police and the law enforcement or the sheriff department don't really need um, to be angry against somebody to involve him in a murder case. They do that because they have nothing. They don't want to appear as completely dumb. And in a case like this, who is international. So what they have against Rick? Only a bullet, a pristine bullet. And they claim that the bullet come from his gun. Okay. So what? The DNA on Rick, on the girl, a fiber, a hair. No, the hair who was found come from Kelsey. If I'm
They said that it was family. So but they waited until right up to trial to test it.
Yeah.
They had it for 7 years, which is unbelievable. And I know there's like I'm sitting here reading chat to this day, there's still so many theories floating around that, at some point in time, some of these things, for the sake of this case, you got to get to a certain point where you say, okay, it's just not logical.
Yeah.
And we have to move on to the next one. And I've always believed that the answers to this case they're going to be found back there in the very beginning. And there is a reason that 70 days worth of interviews and reports are missing. There is a reason why Brad Holder was looked at immediately, whether it and you can use the reasoning that, well, Becky Patty knew of him and knew his son was dating Abby, so Becky Patty tipped him in. That's been said, okay, but why would Becky Patty tip him in unless she was told by law enforcement there was something ritualistic about the crime scene? What would make her go to Brad Holder other than the fact that he's an odorist? Unless she was told, which the point of that whole thing is law enforcement thought from day one that this crime scene looked staged and it had elements of symbolic or ritualistic effects to it. That's my opinion. So that facet of these suspects, I cannot turn away from. But are they connected? I truly believe that Ron Logan's property was used simply because that was the exit. That was hidden. There's nothing back there but the 300 back there by Ron Logan's house. There's you have places to go back there without being seen. Coming the other way back up 300 or back through the woods and the trails, that's too risky. And I say it's too risky because I believe this crime was planned. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys think this crime was planned. And if you put a 1 in the chat, then I would have to assume that you would agree that if you believe the crime was planned, that includes start to finish, how we're getting there, how we're getting out.
Absolutely.
Yep, Mother of Dragons. She put a whole bunch of 1s. Well, see, according to Reese, Keegan told him that he put the sticks on the girl's body to make it resemble like an anarchy sign. And I've tried, and you know, with the anarchy sign, I'm not so much seeing it. That's what I've taken them and I've turned them, because you have to. So if you put yourself in the person's shoes who actually laid the sticks out, where was this? What visual did this person have? Was he standing at the shoulders? Was he standing at the feet? So what the pictures we look at, the diagrams that we look at of the girls with the sticks on them, could they really be upside down to could that be the visual? And the symbol on the tree actually does resemble a real rune. And that will probably be in, I was going to do that next or this time, but I had too much stuff. And so the Brad Holder aspect of it and his connection with Patrick Westfall's connection with Flora, you know, it makes you wonder. Yeah, David Rogers. There's an unusual amount of Masons as well, but everyone there's a couple of people that I talk to from Delphi, and there's someone that I talk to almost daily, who's very close to the case, and they have emphatically stated that anyone they've come in contact with in trying to get information about Brad Holder, they've been warned. He is bad news. Stay away from him. Don't talk to him. He's crazy. And I think I said this the other day, looking at Brad Holder's social media, he was very much into the rituals, the ceremonies, out in the woods, cutting runes. He was creating his own runes. He made 2 or 3 sets of homemade runes that he posted on social media. I do not believe that he was secretly behind Patrick Westfall's back going to a Christian church, and that's why they had the falling out. Yes, there's a lot of things about Brad Holder that I'm sure any other judge in the land would consider a nexus. His painting, the painting that Brad Holder did of the girls that he put on social media on the 1-year anniversary of the girls' deaths. And he painted the image of Odin hanging from the life tree upside down. Except that's supposed to be that whole image is technically a replica of the hangman on tarot cards. However, the original image has the opposite leg bent, and the one that Brad Holder painted has the leg let me see, it was Abby's right leg that was bent, and that's what he depicted in that painting. And he's brazen. I mean, he was, to me personally, he's taunting law enforcement. He was interviewed, and why would he be so brazen unless he had some reason to believe he was not going to be charged?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Shaboogies. What did Michael say? What did Michael say? Oh, you're talking about Brad Holder? Yeah, Brad's wife claimed. Is that right, Michael? That Brad's wife? I know that originally Brad supposedly told her to stay away from Patrick. That Patrick killed the girls, and then I believe she also claimed another time when Brad was intoxicated that he confessed to her. Yeah, and Brad Holder also. Another thing about Brad Holder is they have him clocked in at work, yet he's checking in on Facebook at a workout facility at like 1:45 on the 13th. So what did yeah. Yeah, she's an ex-wife now. Thank you, Kat. I'm sure she doesn't want to be called Brad's wife anymore. Yeah. She's the ex-wife. Trial Junkie says, it's curious why, if law enforcement went back to the beginning, they skipped right over Brad Holder. Brad Holder was looked into right away in February 2017. Absolutely. And he had a connection. His son was dating one of the victims. He lied about ever meeting Abby. And it turned into he met her once, then he met her twice, then he met her several times over at Patrick Westfall's house. So there's a whole nother connection. So there's all of these different things that, you got Judge Gall sitting up there on her high horse going, nope, nope, nope. And Michael Osbrook says, and she passed the polygraph for what that's worth. So did Elvis Field's sister, who went to law enforcement and said he confessed on the 14th before the bodies were even found about being on the bridge with the girls, his words were Abby was a pain in the ass. And so he put horns on her with sticks. And then he spit on them. I have never seen a case where you have this many people confessing. And then you have a guy that you have to put into solitary confinement and inject against his will Halidol to get a confession that, granted, Rick did say, I did it. I killed Abby and Libby. But every detail that he ever gave did not match the crime scene. He shot him. He buried them in a shallow grave. He said he cheated on his cigarettes. He said he killed his whole family. So all while in the middle of a mental break. Okay, so all eyes. Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall acted like they were still friends when law enforcement interviewed them, even though now they act like they had the fight by the river prior to the murder. Now, see, all eyes. Patrick Westfall, in his interviews that he's done, he claims it happened in his living room, that the argument happened in his living room. I wasn't it Brad who claimed they got into I don't know who said that, to be honest. If that came from Brad to his wife, or Brad told that to law enforcement later on, that there was a fight in the woods by the river. But I know Patrick Westfall in his interview said that didn't happen in the woods. It happened in his living room.
Amy, could you please look at the private chat?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, okay. Yep. I always forget to I always forget to check the private chat. I didn't see you down there. I have too many things uploaded. She probably isn't listening now. Streaks. Oh, she muted herself. Okay.
I'm at a truck stop in Oklahoma. I have to pee.
They've got her driving all over the place. She's driving a medic truck. She had to go to Tulsa, then she's got to fly back, then she's got to go back again.
Here.
I know some of those truck stops are really nice. Let me see about the land.
I might take one just to say that I did. I took a shower in Oklahoma
Nice.
on the side of the freeway.
I've always wanted to. Have you guys ever seen? A Walk to Remember. That's such a good movie. But she has like a bucket list, and being in two places at once is on her bucket list. And so her boyfriend takes her out. She's dying of cancer, and her boyfriend takes her out to the state line and has her straddle the state line and says, "Now you've been in two places at once." It was so sweet. I'm mushy. Sorry. Jennifer says Elvis was there 100%. I'm with all of you guys. I mean, this is still to me, until they can prove who that male DNA belongs to, this case is unsolved to me.
Yep.
We are still looking for who did this. Yeah. Well, I think Rick's arrest had to do with the election. And Tony Liggett being given a run for his money and having the Delphi case thrown in his face, that they've done a shitty job. And him getting someone arrested really shut him up, didn't it? And then 2 weeks later, he's elected sheriff. So that's what I think that was about.
I would really like to look into Pinkard and see why he scared everybody so bad.
You know, Amy, the political aspect on this case, it's highly possible because in the Teresa Halbach case, Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey, it's also highly political.
Mm-hmm.
Highly political. And Travis could say what he know about what Casey Kathleen Zellner had done for the post-conviction of Stephen, and who was all the time refuted by the court. But you can see in that case, the Stephen Avery case, that it's more political than you can think. And it's terrifying because it put innocent people in jails just for their own purpose, for their own.
Well, it's I mean, it's what do you say? Joey Lowe, that is the point of all of this. If they are allowed to put Rick Allen in prison for a crime he did not do, then you and your kids could be next. That is the whole point. And it's not only to put the wrong person in jail. It is to bend over backwards to keep them there when they know there's proof that they're innocent. And there's so many cases that could be solved, but the courts continue. They shoot down, requests for DNA to be tested. They, like I said the other day in Stephen Avery's case, they played ping pong with his case for years, back and forth, from the appellate court to the state judge. And that's what's going to happen here. They are going to drag this out. Yes, Shaboogies, look at the Memphis 3 case. They refused to test DNA in that case. And those boys had to take a Alfred plea just to get out of prison. And, you know, at that point in time, you can't blame them. It's either, you know, who are you spiting by, no, I'm going to sit here and not ever admit to anything, even though you're innocent. You know, that's where Stephen Avery's at right now. Stephen Avery will never get out of prison because he will never admit that he did it. So never. But then again, you have to ask yourself, who are you spiting by doing that? But, you know, the West Memphis 3 guys, they're wanting that, you know, if they're guilty, why would they want the DNA tested? They're out. They're walking free. They can go on about their lives. You know, celebrities made sure that they were financially supported. You know, they could have gone on and forgot all about the case and, you know, wiped the sweat off their brow like, whew, thank God that's over. No, they've turned around and they've demanded that the DNA be tested. That's how you know someone's innocent.
Yeah, Joey, I agree with you. Look at the Kylie Rodney case. It's completely crazy. This case is completely crazy. I don't know if you know this case, Amy.
Did you say Carly Rotier?
No, Kylie Rodney.
I can't understand what you're saying on the last part.
Kylie Rodney.
Kaylee Rodney?
Yeah.
I don't know that case.
The girl who was found in this car on the lake. On the back of this car on the lake. No?
I've not heard of it.
No?
At least I don't think so. I'll look it up though. Well, I'm waiting, you know, I'll be surprised to see who, if anybody comes forward for post-conviction in the near future for Rick. A lot of attorneys that have a lot of resources, big firms who have partners, you know, attorneys have to get approval from their law partners if they could ever take on a case pro bono, number one. In a case like this, their career is going to be tied up on this case for years. And like I said, I am waiting to see Joey Lowell. Ashley Garth is not involved in this case. Ashley Garth did not live in Indiana in 2017. That's the second time I've told you tonight. I will remove you if you don't stop. That is not true. I have proven it. Go watch my case coverage on her. And Keegan Kline and Garrett Kurtz do not know each other. If you know that they do, prove it. Okay, so that's what we were saying.
I think I just went through a tunnel on accident.
Many people, Trial Junkie, have been arrested on CSAM. And I've started to put together, I started pulling up cases, especially right around February and March, where there was a whole bunch of search warrants served. And there were a lot of low-key arrests on CSAM. But remember, they spoke to Keegan Kline back then, and then they let him walk, knowing what he was doing for 3 years.
Yep.
So that time frame, if they picked him up and they knew what he was doing and they got any inkling into names, they could have started busting people back then. And that's why they let Keegan walk, to maybe keep an eye on him. I don't know, but there's been a lot of people in Indiana arrested for CSAM and the trafficking. There's a lot of sex trafficking there as well. I just seen something from Osbrook. What did he say? Lawyers with national reputations coming, we're told, bring them on, I say. Yeah, bring them on. I want to see who's going to step up. Again, it's going to take, you know, somebody who steps up is going to have to foot the bill and be 1,000,000% confident that they're going to win the case. I mean, look at Kathleen Zellner on Stephen Avery's case. She invested I don't even want to guess. I know it's probably in the millions. Yeah, in the millions on fighting Wisconsin to get Stephen out. And if Stephen got out, Brendan would shortly follow.
Yeah.
But they have played so many games in Wisconsin, and she's notorious for successfully exonerating people who have been wrongfully convicted, and then she gets paid by the civil lawsuit after the fact. This case, she's lost her butt on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. The subway guy didn't live far from Delphi. Yeah, there's another individual that I didn't put it in here because I only have one little snippet of it. That was I don't know if Julie Melvin sent it to me. I can't remember where it came from, but there was an apartment building right there by the trails, and there was someone that resembled Bridge Guy that the people who lived in the apartment building had called the police on because they had found him in their laundry room and I think out in the hallway a couple of times, but nothing ever came of it. Are you being sassy, Michael? Yes, Mike, we know you have an impeccable reputation. Yeah, Avery had the benefit of the Netflix exposure. RA needs more attention to bring in the big dogs. Agree. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, the Netflix series, ultimately at the end, yeah, it as much as you think public awareness matters, in that particular case, it didn't help Stephen at all. In fact, I really think it made the state fight harder to keep him in, because who's gonna pay that bill?
That's really true.
Mm-hmm. And that's and these big high profile cases, sometimes the bigger the profile, the more the state is adamant that they are not going to be proven that they made a mistake.
Look at the Manson case with Vincent Bugliosi.
Mm-hmm.
Is a perfect example.
Yep.
He had nothing on Manson. He charged him with murder, with a fairy story.
Oh,
Charles Manson never killed anybody.
No. Anybody.
yep, Shaboogies, you're right about that. Not sassy, just factual.
It's true that in this kind of case, you need to stick to the fact. That's true. And you will always have a million of theory about what did happen, because you don't know. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's has anybody in the chat, have you guys ever listened to or read Letters from Sing Sing? That is a very good story about a journalist who was going into Sing Sing to speak to someone who was incarcerated. And he was known to write, I guess he was known to write a lot of articles about incarcerated individuals. And I think was known to attempt to help people that he felt needed help. I don't know if they were always innocent, maybe overcharged, but I can't remember the guy's name. But there was another incarcerated person in the prison who was aware of this journalist. So he knew this journalist was coming to interview someone else. So he had his mother wait in the waiting room for him to walk into the prison to sign in. And she approached him about her son being innocent. And that started like a 25-year relationship between the two of them. And this journalist literally fighting and advocating to get him out of prison. And it took a little over 20 years to get him out. But the podcast is all about the correspondence between these two and what the journalist did and the road that he traveled to get this person out of prison. So it's really good, and it shows you how hard it is once you've been convicted. Once you're behind bars, it's almost a miracle to get you. It takes a miracle to get you out. So
That's
yeah.
true. That's true.
Eagle Eye. Alan Jackson has probably had his fill right now of a high profile case. I would love to see Alan Jackson take Rick Allen's case, but I don't believe that will happen. But yes, I mean, national attorneys would be fantastic. I personally, at the moment, just don't see anyone. I feel like they would have been knocking on the door already right after the verdict. They would have been knocking on the door.
I think personally that Andrew Baldwin and Brad were very good, and from what I've seen and heard, but I haven't seen and heard everything. So
Are they like, from what I hear, they're not even really like trying to be around anymore? Like, are they even talking about the Delphi case anymore, or are they just moved on?
Well, they were in Carroll County. They are immediately removed from the case. That is their statute or their code in Carroll County. I believe they're both back to practicing. They're working cases, and right now,
Baldwin has a case right now before Gold that's being live streamed. I think it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I do believe so. Yeah, someone told me today that he has a murder case. I didn't know it was in front of Gall, though.
Yeah, it's in front of Gall, and it's being live streamed. I think Amanda Smith, I want to say, but I could be wrong.
Oh, I bet he's sick to his stomach. I honestly, right now, I don't think it's in anyone's best interest that Brad or Andrew speak out anymore right now. While the direct appeal is in process, they need to let these two attorneys handle their portion of the case. So I think that's ultimately what it boils down to. And, all we can do now is just pray that something post-conviction investigation-wise starts, and it's started by someone who has the gumption to do it, not somebody who gets assigned the case who really doesn't want to take on the workload. So we'll see. But it is 8:30, guys. It's a work night for me. My alarm goes off at 3 a.m. So
I still have it in the next few hours. And then I have to train someone tomorrow in Texas. And then I have to fly from Dallas to Tulsa and do this drive again, but all the way down to San Antonio. And there's a cop. Oh, wait, I'm in a cop car. I always forget that I'm driving this vehicle.
Hey, Joey. Okay, this is what I mean by people who just insist on being assholes. Joey, have you ever watched my case coverage on Ashley's case? Have you traveled? I don't need to be a licensed detective to know how to do research and to actually get in my vehicle and go places and meet people and speak to people and document medical records, document phone records, social media. I don't need to be a detective to do all of that, but that is what I do. And I actually got in my vehicle, drove to Indiana, went to the courthouse, met her family, spoke to everyone that was involved that would speak on this case. Ashley Garth was not involved in this case. And I'm sure her father would have a problem. And so would Abby's mother, because with you saying that, because Abby Williams' mom and Ashley's dad are the best of friends. They grew up together. So Ashley Garth is not involved in the Delphi case, period.
Is this that Joey Lowe person?
Yes.
Sydney Smith.
Yeah, it's probably a fake account. And if it is, that's fine.
That person's been around a minute, and they're just, that's why I say Sid and Smith. At this point, that's all you can say to them. It's just Sid and Smith.
Yeah. Well, he's gone now.
What Travis says is true. A post-conviction attorney won't be appointed to Rick's case for
Say that again.
4 years. Yeah.
Did I miss it?
The last message of Travis.
I see it. Thank you, Mother of Dragons. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
A post-conviction attorney won't be appointed to Rick's case for 2 to 4 years. Exactly. After direct appeals are over, he will be on a waiting list for a year before appointed one. Needs one now. Know anyone? Question mark. Exactly. Yeah, he does need one now. And I believe that he's going to sit for at least 2 years. If they are still I'm sure crime in Indiana hasn't slowed down, and I'm sure the public defender's office is overwhelmed, like they have been for years. They don't have enough attorneys. There's a shortage of public defenders, and what they'll do is they will have someone from the public defender's office file a stay. This is exactly what they did in Ashley's case. They filed a stay stating they didn't have an attorney available to represent, and that stay held her place in line for a little over 2 years. Then, once the new attorney was assigned, she sat for almost 8 months while he gathered her case information. And not to toot my own horn, but I provided for 2.5 years. I worked on Ashley's case and collected information and files and documents that her original public defender failed to do. And all of that information was handed over to Ashley's new attorney. And it still took him 8 months to familiarize himself with the case. Ashley's trial was a 4-day trial. And think about how large this Delphi case is, with all of the discovery that was gathered over 7 years. Hell of a difference. So unless someone has the ball rolling behind the scenes while the direct appeal is being worked on, he's going to be sitting for a long time. And all we can do is pray that he stays safe in prison, mentally and physically.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, Travis. We just do. Okay, guys. Well, 2-year wait there before beginning to investigate. Yeah, that's 2 years of a wait before so we're looking at probably at least 1.5 years on this direct appeal. Then the 2-year wait, if not longer. I don't see crime, really decreasing. And you have to understand, we're not talking crimes like, murders and robberies. We're talking anybody who needs a public defender or anyone else who was already convicted who is also waiting for post-conviction relief. All of those people are on a waiting list. Hey, Four Pits. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to hop off so I can get ready for bed so I can go to work in the morning. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Cherie. And thank you, Christine. I would say Kristen. I don't know why. Just Streets. Just call you Streets. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, that's right. Mark Lehman is an appeal attorney. He's not a post-conviction investigator. So hit that like button and subscribe on the way out, guys. And I will see you all later. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.